If you were to do a Google search of famous people with dyslexia, you might actually be surprised with some of the names that are there on that list. And as you look at this list, you sort of see that these reoccurring themes keep happening, like creativity, the entertainment industry, entrepreneurs, all of these amazing things. And seeing like a list of names of people that have become successful, even though having a diagnosis, is really encouraging. And in fact, really what it looks like is that they are not successful in spite of a diagnosis or a disability, but perhaps they are successful because of. Hi, and welcome to Learning Life. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to talk a little bit more about dyslexia. I am fascinated with the brain and the way that our brain works. And the more and more that we delve into it, the more and more we don't know. Isn't that pretty cool to think that there is just something so amazing just like here in our head? And, one of the things that I have found over the years as a teacher and working with students is dyslexia, that we really don't fully understand it. And I would love to explore just a little bit more about dyslexia today. Now, thank you as well for liking and subscribing for these videos. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and know when these videos come out. Now, dyslexia is still not really fully understood. Yes, we talk about it as being like a learning disability or a learning disadvantage. We know some aspects of it. It's sort of been labeled as, that the reading disability, and you have problems with that. But, honestly, when I look at that, this shouldn't be anything that stigmatizes us. It shouldn't be anything that holds us back. There are many sort of different forms of dyslexia. There's things that we know about it or we just don't really get. And one of the things that I've been seeing is almost like this correlation between dyslexia and creativity. And I really think that a lot of it is just that here's this ability to think in a different way, to see things differently, and, being able to move into something and accommodating what we need, it's not going to hold us back. We can make some changes. We can get people to help us to do it. But there seems to be, as we look at these famous people, these actors, directors, entrepreneurs, artists, inventors, like these amazing people that have dyslexia and, have been super successful, have changed things for us, through history that have just made things easier for us or better or exciting, And so it's just really fascinating to see these creative, these sort of very successful sort of careers for people with dyslexia. And it makes me just see it keep coming back going, wow, there does seem to be that correlation, though we don't know why. We really don't know why, but we can see how successful they can be in it, especially if they've learned how to accommodate and make good use of the tools that are going to help them to overcome some of the challenges of dyslexia. Now, there are different types of dyslexia, and so let's just have a quick look at them. There's the main one, the primary form of dyslexia, really, which we know is a dysfunction of the left side of the front precortex, and this is one that just follows through life. But we've actually seen that the primary dyslexia is hereditary, and it will pass on through family lines more often than not, through the male line, though we are seeing girls with dyslexia. It's not, just affecting one group of people. But people often ask, can it be passed along? Well, yes, it can, but we don't need to be afraid of that. There is the secondary form where they've seen that it's caused by problems sort of in that early brain development, in early fetal development. And this type of dyslexia, we have the problems at the beginning and the learning to read and all of that, but it diminishes with age. It's sort of like you grow out of it, as it were. And then there is trauma dyslexia, and this is rarer. This is where something happens after a traumatic brain injury. We're not really seeing that so much in schools, but it does happen. And then we have things like visual processing disorder or auditory processing disorder, and sometimes they're known as visual dyslexia or auditory dyslexia, and that's where the images and what's being heard and the auditory get sort of jumbled up. But I like to sort of keep them themselves as sort of like processing disorders rather than sort of putting them in the dyslexia category. And then there's dysgraphia, which is when there is a disconnect when it comes to actually the writing. So when holding a pencil and controlling a pencil to form those letters, and that's often where we get like the letters flipped, like a B and a D. Now, yes, a lot of young children do write their letters like the wrong way and will write a D instead of a B, or draw a circle, going against the sort of the normal way that we draw it. That's not dysgraphia, that's just sort of learning. But there are a group of people that their dyslexia comes through being able to write. Now, none of this needs to hold back. It doesn't. We can be successful, like no matter what. Like that's just what I feel like, that there are areas that, maybe we have challenges, but we can just rise like above it, and with accommodations, these are great things. So I want to just really give a shout out for those that do struggle with dyslexia and feel that maybe, there's been like a stigma put upon you. It's like, you know what? You have an advantage that others don't in just that the way that your brain is wired. And you can be so successful because of the way your brain is wired and not in spite of it. Here is a list of famous people with dyslexia. It sort of surprised me, like seeing some of the names on the list, and maybe it will you too. But I think this is also great for our children that maybe are struggling with dyslexia and being like, well, like I've got like this label like stuck to me. I can have it, but it doesn't define me. And here is a list of like some famous people that might surprise you. And you'll see them come across like from actors to directors to entrepreneurs. And I love the more that I delve into it and just watch as these people have overcome what, is always just viewed as a disability and you won't make it. It's like, you know what? Wow, look at your life. So we have people like Whoopi Goldberg, Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, Tom Cruise, these big actors. Steven Spielberg, look at what he has done. Has dyslexia held him back? Jamie Oliver, Richard Branson, what an entrepreneur there. Walt Disney, did that hold him back? He had dyslexia. Pablo Picasso as an artist. And most likely, his dyslexia helped him like in his style of art and how he saw things. Same with Leonardo da Vinci. He saw things in such different ways, but he did struggle with his reading and writing. Same with Albert Einstein. We're all going to call him a genius because he is, but he struggled to read and write. All these people that overcame, developed, saw things in such different ways. Bill Gates, Anderson Cooper, Octavia Spencer, the actress, she's been quite vocal about, succeeding because of, she overcame those fears. And then there's like Agatha Christie. I love her as a novelist. Her books have sold, underneath like the Bible, when it comes to top selling, Agatha Christie is like up the top there. And her stories are fascinating. And it's sort of believed that her stories are this great because of her struggle with dyslexia. And you look at her, the way that she interweaves characters and her plots. And, she really took that time like in her craft because she struggled with dyslexia, but you wouldn't know it to look at her books. So many, this is really just the tip of the iceberg with really successful people. And we can take a list and we can show our children this and go, look at what these people have done. Look at what they can do. And if your child is struggling or you can say, you know what? I'm not going to let it stigmatize and hold me back. I can be successful because of my brain is wired differently. And that's a good thing, and encourage a child, like study it a little bit more, look at that brain. This is such an amazing thing up here that we just don't even know enough about. Thank you so much for watching today. And, go and find those lists of famous people and be encouraged and be challenged. And if you like these videos and would like to see us bring out more content, you can join us through Patreon to become one of our champions. And you can check that out on patreon.com or LearningThis.Life.